Following me around.
It's still is.
There, now you're.
Now it's
Is it recording now?
You're
good.
It's
Okay.
red on the, yep,
Okay.
it is. Red on
Is there a disclaimer on the bottom that says objects are not as large as they appear? No? You know, like in your rearview mirror? That's what I need. Yeah. All right. So first of all, we're going to do about 10 minutes of work on the smartboard. So you guys need to scoot around a little bit. And I'm going to ask one of you to sit here and move my slides because the clicker didn't work. Hey, Mark, I forgot something at home, and since I live a block away, you're going to go get it. Okay? My mother's there.
Oh, okay.
The cards that have those 5 magic questions.
Where are we?
Okay, so you walk up
In the front door.
Front door. Walk into my kitchen, and if you look on my right, there's a cupboard, and they're right on the counter.
Right
There's
on
a
the
big
counter.
one box of them. Just grab the box.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yeah,
I'll run
Mom's
grab
there.
right away.
Mom's there. Okay. My mother's at home, I said, so knock on the door. All right. All right. Okay, and this is kind of freaky, but he actually knows my mother. I taught for 8 years in Fergus Falls at the middle school. Before, I'm now teaching 4th grade. I have taught 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, and 8th over my 30 years. So I have never taught high school, so I'm not even pretending to be an expert at high school. So this is my hardest trainings that I do. Elementary, I always just say they're my people, okay? Easy. You are the hardest nuts to crack. I'm going to tell you that right now. So bear with me. I know I have no experience at high school, but I have about 10 years worth of training at high school. And so the questions that you have, believe me, I've heard them before. I started restorative work. Flip. One more. There we go. One more. With the St. Croix Valley Restorative Justice Program, they're based out of River Falls. And I basically just went there and applied for a summer job because it was 2008, and my husband is a broker and he moves freight. Well, think back to 2008, how much freight was moving. His commission checks now are huge. His commission checks then were non-existent because of the economy. I needed to go get a part-time job in addition to teaching full-time. So I went and got a part-time job there and ended up staying for 8 years and doing a lot of their work. And that's where I started learning about this. It was just kind of an accident for me. And I started doing their victim impact panels. That was my first experience. And some of you may have had a family member or somebody who had a DUI in St. Croix or Pierce County. And to get their driver's license back, they have to go to a victim impact panel. You may have seen something similar, Mothers Against Drunk Driving, where they stand up and talk in the audience. And it's a little bit different than Mothers Against Drunk Driving because it's not shameful. Because restorative practices are about changing behavior through a change of heart. And how you change someone's heart is by storytelling and by listening to other people's stories. And so that was what this was, that the DUI offenders would come in and listen to people that I would introduce to them that had been harmed, or that their family members had harmed themselves. Then I started doing underage consumption circles. And that was at the University of River Falls, Wisconsin. And if you are a college campus and you get a ticket, you have a choice of either going to one of their programs and paying a huge fine, or they would refer you to my underage consumption circles at St. Croix Valley Restorative Justice. And in those circles, we always had the kids who had the ticket. We also had community members there from River Falls. And then we had other people who had been harmed by drinking or had been affected seriously by drinking. You're going to see me do 1, 2, 3 all day long because restorative practices, if you're going to do them correctly, almost always have 3 parts. They almost always do. And so the underage consumption circles were the kids that had the ticket, community members that were affected, and then I brought in storytellers that had harmed. So you have victims, offenders, and community members, all right, to repair harm. Then those were so successful, they were so busy that they implemented safe teen driving circles, and those were if you had a ticket and you were 17 to 21 in Pierce or St. Croix County, instead of paying the fine, you could come to the circle. And I had people there who had harmed people while driving. And so we had, again, the three parts. We had community members, we had victims, and we had offenders, and they would be in circle. The victim empathy circles were the real victims with the real offenders, and I never facilitated those. I just participated, and then I decided that was above my skill set. And I never did very many of those, and I decided that I really liked the two right here. These were the two that I really liked. Whoop. I've been doing that all day long. These are the two that I really like, the circles. This one down here, you've heard of that. You've probably seen it on Oprah, where there's a real harm, and then they come in and circle and they repair the harm. The one that I did specifically, that I was in charge of and did my own, was in Somerset. A few years ago, we had some kids break into the hockey rink. And there were 3 kids that were caught, and the county gave them a choice. They could take probation and a fine, or they could participate in the restorative process. 2 chose the fine, and 1 chose the restorative process. And so I had to set all that up, and she participated with us, and her parent did. We also had community members there, and then we had the president of the Hockey Association because his skates were stolen, and we had some members of the Hockey Association because they were the ones that had to repair all the damage that the kids had done. And so this is really high on the continuum of restorative practices. It was so much work. I mean, I guess I enjoyed it. It was powerful, and I felt like I really gave back to my community because in the end, the Hockey Association president, to repair the harm, he just wanted his skates back. And the kid found him, and we don't know when, but they just appeared at the rink. And one of the community members, in order to repair the harm, he just wanted help painting the door because they had to rebuild the door, and the kid came in and helped John Moore do the door. And so the kid felt like he'd repaired some of the harm. The Hockey Association felt better. So I felt it was valuable, but it was time-consuming. It was meeting with them, meeting with here, setting it all up. And that's a really professional thing. And so I don't think that I'm going to expect any of you to be doing that kind of stuff. We're just talking about dialogue today. And there's really 3 kinds of dialogue. One we're going to do in a minute, and that's being in circle. And that is usually the hardest one for high school teachers, to tell you the truth. Because it's a really different way of listening, and it's a different way of interacting with people. Kindergarten teachers, piece of cake. Okay, high school teachers, it's usually a little bit more difficult. Sometimes it's really difficult for admin, especially if they're like 50 years old and they're a football coach at the same time. I sometimes have trouble with that. They just putting on that different lens of looking at things. So the reason we're in circle is because they just, is that mine? Good God. Hang on, it might be Mark looking for my card. It is. Excuse me. Yes? No, it's in a box of cards. It's about 4 inches long and about a foot long. Right by all. Did you see the blue bag? He's in my kitchen. Behind it on the counter is a whole box of business cards. And they're in there. Yeah. Yeah. That's it. Yep. Okay. All right. Bye. Yeah. Okay. Bye. Well, I gotta admit that's the first time I've ever been interrupted in a presentation by the superintendent of the school in which I'm presenting. First time. So today I want you to leave with 3. I'm seeing 3. Everything's in 3s here. 3 ways that you can start some restorative stuff in your own classroom or in your own school. One of them is by just changing how you talk to kids and how you talk to each other. And you're going to find that I've had lots of people go home and they start talking to their family different, their kids different, their moms and dads different. And so it's just a mindset on changing how you speak. If you're a counselor or a therapist or something, you probably already had that kind of stuff. So, that's step 1. You know that you and I probably talk to kids different than a bus driver, okay? We probably do. Not all, but some. So talking to kids differently with a different voice. The other thing is learning how to, when a kid has an issue or kids have an issue, how to talk to them in a little group. That's called restorative chats. And we're going to do some work on restorative chats. Then the other 3rd way of communicating is the circle. It's a safe space where all members can talk about different topics. You can have topics, you can work through differences and build consensus. And so circles are a part of restorative justice. And this is, I promise you it's true. This is research-based. When circles were implemented in classrooms at the high school level, research shows a marked improvement in classroom behavior. I didn't just invent this. Okay, I'm just a fourth grade teacher who I've been using this for about 20 years now. I've been using part of it and 10 of it with intention. And I've been using it, and I promise you the behaviors in your classroom do decrease. Is it a miracle? Absolutely not. It's not a program you can Google and purchase. This is a philosophy, you can't just go buy this. I'm just trying to change how you think and how you look at things. And the first way we're going to do it is by getting in circle. And so that is the next one. Next one back, the circle. There we go. But I want to talk about this part before we get into circle. Because listening in circle is very different than listening right now. Right now, you're half listening, half passing a piece of candy around, whatever. That is how we are. That's human beings. In circle, we're not that way. In circle is very, very different. And kids will sense it. You will sense it. Being in circle is different than regular listening. Most of us listen in order to respond or in order to reply. Because we can't wait till they finish so we can tell them what we think. Okay, listening in circle, and Mike, if you get into circles by the time we're done here, that listening with an open heart is what I call it. Kids and you will learn how to listen differently. Teachers, we're taught to nod, we're taught to affirm, we're taught to ask clarifying questions. Not in circle. I can't even hardly sit in a circle with my mother. It drives me crazy. Because she's, She's, yeah, good idea. In circle, that's not how we listen. Open heart listening is calmly listening to what the person has to say with no judgment, with no answer, with no responsibility on what they have to say whatsoever. It's just listening. And it's looking at the person and just thinking about what they have to say. I find it very calming because I'm not responsible for answering them. So it's a different way of listening. That's what we're going to go into now, and because I want to model that, and that's going to be the first half hour of your training today is in circle. We'll still be doing the training, but we're going to be doing it in circle because I wanted to model one restorative practice. Restorative practices is not all about circles. This is one strategy. And so we're going to use that strategy to teach a little bit about it. So I want you to watch for the different stages of a circle. Sitting in a circle and having a chat with your homeroom is not a restorative practice. That's sitting in a circle having a chat. Found them? Great. You can just set them down there. No, that's it. Thank you.
I'll go back and have lunch.
Okay, you go back and have lunch with my mom. All right. I have lunch with my mother and my three-legged dog.
I heard him.
Did you see him? Oh,
I did see her.
My dog had his leg amputated on Tuesday. It's so sad. He's this great big greyhound, and he's just, whoa. So my mom's taking care of him. But the thing is, I taught in Fergus Falls for 8 years. Before Dr. Biesick was in Elk River, he was in Fergus Falls. So he was the superintendent, and my mom worked for him for many years when he was there. My sister's his realtor. I mean, we go back that far. So that's what I can kind of goof around with them. I don't do that with most superintendents, order them around. So that was just a different, just a little backstory there. But I want you to watch for the stages, and I want you to think about starting shallow and watch the circle go deeper if we can. We don't always. It depends on you and how you react. But I put a sports analogy on it. Don't force the puck up the ice. Don't force the play. Regroup. And so the circle may move deeper. It may not. It may not. It may move back. It's kind of like a play in sports. But it has a beginning, a middle, and an end. Now, I want you to be thinking about how you could maybe use this in your classroom, or maybe not. Maybe you'll want to use a couple of the other strategies I'm going to teach. This is just one. High school teachers get really stuck on, oh, I can't use this in my classroom. It would take my whole hour. I'm not asking you to use this in your classroom every single day. I'm just asking you to think about it as a way to facilitate dialogue with your students. I just did a training in Dallas, Texas 2 weeks ago, and I went to a presentation specific. Every presentation I went to, I wanted to have it be high school so I could more for helping high school level. And she was chemistry, I think. And all she did was one circle a month, and it was called a topic circle. And she gave her whole hour to it once a month. And all month she'd listen for different topics that were going on in the community or things like that. And she just did one circle a month. I have another guy, a math teacher in Fridley, that he does a circle every day, but he just does a stand-up circle. And I'm going to demonstrate one of those in a little while. So there's many ways to use it. The one we're doing right now is not the one you have to use. There is no have to in restorative practices. It's a philosophy. So you take what you want and make it yours. Okay? You can't go buy this anywhere. It's not a curriculum. It's a philosophy. And one thing that works, that's restorative, that gives everybody a voice and everybody's heard, is a circle. So I want you to think about listening with an open heart and putting your name tags in front of you and facing the middle. Mm-hmm. Okay, so can you get those chairs out of there and scoot in, please? Is that an extra one? Okay, they can all be out.
Make it through.
Scoot! All right.
You gotta be able to see it. Point at a circle. Not that far.
Cool for school, huh, Dave?
Okay. Scoot your name tag out. Scoot your name tag out. So the idea here, when I say listen, you say up. Listen. Listen. I'll try it again. Listen. So your name tags should be out where we can see them and so that we know everybody's name. Even if you know everybody's name, we don't even always pronounce them right, and you never know, especially with support staff and things like that in some circles, always do name tags. All right, so my name is Catherine, and I am a fourth grade teacher at Webster Elementary in North St. Paul, but I've lived here for 25 years. I live on the corner, right when you go under the bridge, the big green Christmas tree in the front yard that my husband puts up every year. And I have two grandkids that go to the elementary school. And as I said, I've been doing this work for a long, long time. So thank you for coming to Circle. I want you to think again about that open heart. This is a different kind of listening. It looks different and it feels different. And so I want you to kind of think about how it makes you feel. And I give you permission right now to feel uncomfortable. First time I was in it, I'm just like, oh, good God, this is so kumbaya. I just wanted to erp. I am the farthest thing from kumbaya. Okay, I coach hockey in Somerset, and I've coached hockey in many different towns. But if it was kumbaya, this would not be my bag. This is not kumbaya. You're gonna find that this holds kids accountable in a way that punishing them does not. Because this is gonna hold them accountable in repairing the harm that they caused. And that's more powerful than just a fine or a suspension. And I'm hoping that's what you'll get out of this when we leave. Before we get to the repairing harm part, however, it's about building relationships. And this is a process that really builds relationships. And so how it works is we have talking pieces in the middle. Those are mine. And if you were going to start this with your own class, I would start with your own. Always bring in something that is very important to you and that has a story to go with it. So I am a hockey coach, and I'm also a Minnesota Gopher fan. Okay? And I found this in my house when I was looking for talking pieces. I usually bring a Somerset hockey puck. I couldn't find one. And this is from 2000. The hockey team did a fundraiser in the year 2000, and I found this, and it's brand new. So I didn't know if I should give it to somebody or keep it as a souvenir. So I go back a long way, and all your varsity players are on the ice with me every Wednesday, helping out with the little ones. And most of them were little ones on the ice with me back that I've been here that long. So I'm the power skating instructor. So when you're the circle keeper, you always put something in there that you share so that right away you're building community. So if you're going to do a circle with your own class, you would want to have one or two things that were really personal to you, like maybe a fly fishing pole or something, whatever is personal to you. So that's how it works. Those are talking pieces. If you have a talking piece, your job is to keep it in your hand and share your story or talk. If you don't have the talking piece, your job is to just listen with an open heart, and it's very relaxing. And I say you get to listen with an open heart because you're going to find you're just going to love listening to what everybody has to say. It's just a very different way of communicating with people. And before we start the circle, I would like you to pass that around and take one. If you have one of your own, you're a miracle worker. I'd like you to take a paper plate. Don't use the waxy side. This is all Holiday had. Use this side. And I'd like you to come up with one word and write it on the back of your plate. Nope. The word should be a value. There's no right or wrong answer in circle. This is just your opinion. This is a community building circle. There's no right or wrong answer. When you get good at this, you can do academic circles. Then there's a right or wrong answer. But this is just a community building circle. So think of a healthy relationship you have with someone in your life. Coworker, parent, spouse, sibling. What about that relationship makes it so valuable to you? So think about a healthy relationship you have. Is it the love, the honesty, the compassion? There's no right or wrong answer. And believe me, I have heard everything. You guys got enough? Maybe not. Just set them on the floor if you have too many. When I was doing those teen circles in River Falls, I had a kid put my red pickup truck. And I thought, well, that's interesting, but there's no right or wrong answer. So he throws it in the middle and he says, well, I picked my red pickup truck. Because my mom and dad got divorced a few years ago, and I got a little new stepbrother now, and I never get to see him. But on Thursdays, I get to pick him up from kindergarten. And I get to drive him all the way home in my red pickup truck. And my little kindergarten brother, his favorite thing is my red pickup truck. And he can't wait to get in my red pickup truck. And I thought, oh, I guess it isn't really the red pickup truck. It's the love that he has for his family. That was his value. Another one I had was a little girl wrote oatmeal. And I thought, okay. The story came and she threw it in and she said, on Saturday mornings, she said, my grandma lives with us, and on Saturday mornings my grandma gets up and makes oatmeal. And I get up early too, and it's just the two of us up and we eat oatmeal every Saturday morning. It's my favorite thing, she said. And I thought, well, I guess it's not the oatmeal. It's just special time with her family. And then I had a kid, kind of a tough-looking kid, and he said, oh, I've had a really tough time lately. He said, we're really considering maybe doing something drastic. He said, I haven't had people supporting me. He said, the only person who's gotten me through this is my dog. And he goes, and this morning I took my dog for a walk, and it fell through the ice. And he said, I jumped in after it. I got it out and everything. He said, but God, I got home, and he said, I figured, wow, the most important thing in my life right now is my dog. And I thought, well, maybe it's not his dog. It's the fact that his dog is supportive of him. His dog is non-judgmental. Dogs are there no matter what. So it's support and non-judgmental. So it doesn't have to be the word. It's more the story that goes with it. So if you have that word written, who has the markers? Where's the bag? Yep, let's go back around. Yep, but let's go this way so I can write mine quick. Okay. So this is called your thinking time. So go ahead and write a word. And always give kids thinking time. We tend to, got to get through that curriculum, got to get through everything. So even though this process takes a while, now I have some high school teachers that do this the first day of the trimester or first day of the year. That's how they determine their school rules. They say, what is one thing that you think you need to be a really good learner, to be the best learner you can be in this 5th hour math class? And the kids put them out there. And they talk about them, and they do the same thing we're going to do right now. And at the end of the hour, this teacher puts them right up on the wall and says, 1st hour values. And he does that with every single class the first day of school of every trimester. You just, with consensus, you just community-wise developed your classroom rules. All right, so if you still have one, would you just put it on the floor, please? And you're a teacher, you know why I'm going to ask you to put them on the floor. So if you have the talking piece, you share your story. So I'm going to start. My story means that I'm going to tell why I chose this. I chose sense of humor because, thank God, my family has a sense of humor because I screw up things all the time. I mean, I lose things. I get dates mixed up. I mean, just terrible things like that. And they never get mad at me. They always have the ability to laugh at me because I can be a little over the top at times. Tell us why you picked.
Fierceness. I picked fierceness because it feels protective when people have that feeling about you. I use the word encourage, or encouragement, I guess, whichever you want to say it. I grew up with a family that was very encouraging, whether to seek your passions, to do the best that you can do. And I see sometimes at school that doesn't happen with everybody. So as a teacher, I'm always trying to encourage people to think differently or see things in a different way. Especially in the area of art, it's an easy one for me to kind of guide people to see bigger.
Well, I thought of the word support, so great minds think alike, I hope. This is one of the many words that popped into my head because in our family with 3 grown children and 2 aging adults, we just support each other in so many different ways. In the morning, my husband supports me by getting my car out. He warms it up. He puts the cup of coffee in my hand and he shoves me out the door. So I appreciate that support.
I also had support or supportive on finding the thing in the thought I had to believe in. It's easy to feel like you can't do things, so I think you need those people who can support you and believe in you to get you where you want to be.
My word was reliable, and I think I like to be somebody that people can rely on, but I also think it's really important to be able to get through anything in life. You need people that you can rely on as well.
I put acceptance on my plate because I feel like I'm a strange person, so Amber accepting those quirks allows the relationship to grow. If I can accept that she's not going to ask for help, then it just allows to head off some things. And then with sweet young Rhett Lindenberg, he's a 2-year-old asshole. So the more just accepting him for who he is allows us not to experience.
I chose Gemütlichkeit, which is a German word if you didn't figure that out. Gemütlichkeit is a value, a concept of warm fuzzies, of happiness and social acceptance, being in a community, being in a family unit or a friend group, and just knowing that there is love, that there is happiness, that there is joy to be had with the people you're around. And that's something that has been near and dear to my heart for many years, something that I seek and try to spread.
I wrote laugh and smile. If I didn't have that on a daily basis, I'd probably lose my noodle with my 2 small when we get together and how much fun it is for us to be together. I used to take that for granted, but now being around students that we don't have that, I love it and appreciate it very much.
I had trust. It's the foundation of any relationship or interaction in any organization or in your personal life, and without it, it's going to be hard to function. Each person has different roles and responsibilities that they count on other people for, and without being able to trust each other and then follow through, it's hard to make progress and reap the benefits out of everything.
I as well put trust. I looked at it from a teacher's lens. This is something I used to take for granted, that just being a teacher, I was trusted. Coming to find out that that's not even close to the case. You have to earn it every day and continue to earn it every day. It's never fully there. You just got to keep working at it. And that's something that's always in the back of my head.
I chose faith. I grew up with a strong faith to get me through challenging times, and I still like to use that on a regular basis teaching. And I like to put that in my students, that even with challenging times, we can get through it.
It shows openness. I thought of honesty at one point, but really it's a good thing, but not always the best thing at times. So openness, because I think, especially for teaching, I try to bring myself to everything and be open about everything. It's going to help the kids. My stories, I like to share it, no matter how embarrassing it might be for me. And then in relationships, the same way. It's going to be open about things. Not always sugarcoating it, but just, when my wife came to me this morning and said, "Hey, how does this look? This dress." I'm like, "Well, the stripes don't go with the leopard print, so you might not want to wear that." So just openness, not always honesty, though.
I chose kindness. Since the day I met my wife, she was kind to me, and I don't think I was quite as kind to her as she was to me the first time I met her. But I always see her model that kindness. And my youngest daughter's a big hockey nut, as Mr. Cook knows. Helped her with a project last year, and this pup reminds me, and it's getting me excited that my wife is going to be kind, and she's going to go with us to Duluth tonight to watch the Hawks take on the national champion Bulldogs.
I put down children because I thought you said something that I value, not hate. So thinking about why I value my children so much is that they really understand me and they help me understand myself. Therefore, I guess understanding would be the value that's kind of behind them.
I chose helpful. I guess the first thing that came across when I chose this word was how Wade, as we're teaching the same classes, and one of them is geometry, and he's a little more organized than I am. And when I'm scrambling to get lessons ready for the day or looking for some things we've done in the past, he usually has everything there and organized and ready to go. So he's been a big help.
I put happy. My kids are a little older. They can still be those little kids, but they're always happy. They're like the puppy that comes to the door no matter what day you have. They 7, 9, and 12. I hope it continues when they go through high school. But they're always happy no matter what goes on in my day. And same thing for my students when they come in or in the hallway, greet them, say hi, smile at them. With most of you except Kelly. No. Just be happy. It's easy to do. It's a choice you make every day.
I chose kindness. I'm a firm believer that any barrier to any situation can be broken down with just a little bit of kindness. Kindness in thoughts, kindness in words, and kindness to yourself. I think if we were all a little bit kinder to one another, the world as a whole would be a lot better placed. And when I think about my relationships with students, I have some tough kids and tough parents. And sometimes I have to be intentionally kind if I want to make an impact with that student, and if I want to really make an impact at home. I use kindness, and it's genuine kindness, not just the fake kindness that I put on. I could choose that, but I truly look to be kind and to find good in all things and in all people, because I firmly believe that that's the most important way that you approach anyone, and yourself as well.
I chose the word vulnerable. I think of my relationships with my husband, my daughter, my people, my family. They've created a place where I can be vulnerable, and then that allows for growth and really good conversations to come about. So that was my word.
Put time. I feel like it's our most valuable commodity, and what students need in their class with us and what our kids need with us is time with them.
I chose open communication. I feel like here, for me to be at my best, I value the ability for all of you to be able to communicate with me openly, and there's times in those open communications are not always easy things to hear and easy things to navigate, but I feel like in order for me to have the biggest impact and accomplish what I want to help this building accomplish, I rely on the open communication piece. I know in my home, my husband and I both had very busy, demanding jobs, and we do a lot of passing each other through the door with 2 young kids, so the open communication piece is important.
I chose trust, thinking specifically of my relationship with my new husband. We just got married, and this year has been a huge transition for me, so having him there and trusting that, we're in this together, I think it's a value that ties into a lot of things like reliability and not being judgmental and knowing that that person's always there for you and trusting that you're in it together. So that's been really important for me.
Support, I think just in general, like, it's good to be supported by colleagues, by friends, by family.
I also chose kindness. I think kindness in any kind of situation, it's pretty easy, especially in stressful jobs. The students that we deal with sometimes have very, very challenging backgrounds and stories, and just being able to, and even if you know those stories or if you don't know those stories, just to approach all kids and people that you interact with at the bank or any other place, just with a first, step of I'm going to be kind to them, and that's how I'm going to build on those relationships.
I started out with passionate about education because yesterday was team day, and today we're working as a team. Our PLC is getting together morning and afternoon, and I know my PLC is very passionate about education, but then I worked it into joy. When we look at the work of the mindfulness stuff that we're doing in the district, and it's the gratitude and stuff, but more and more I'm finding that we don't stop and reflect to say what makes me joyous. Where do I find joy in every little thing? And I think that's really important.
I put down forgiving. I am a person who has to verbalize and talk a lot to kind of process through a lot of things in my personal life and also my professional life. And in doing that, I think the more you talk, the more opportunity there is to make mistakes. And so I think when I think about relationships that are going really well for me, I think of forgiveness, because I think people are forgiving of things that I say when I kind of circle back and say, like, I don't think I meant it that way, or I'm sorry if I offended you, and just that forgiveness and that openness to kind of start over after something has happened.
Yeah, and starting with a clean slate. I said the same thing. This is a big deal in my family because I was in an abusive relationship in college, and I needed to learn the power of forgiveness, just me not carrying around resentment and bitterness. But I also wanted to help my kids to be able to say, what you did to me was not okay, but I forgive you. Because saying I'm sorry is a common thing, and a common response is, that's okay. But we need to be able to say, that's not okay, and we need to do better, but I'm not going to let that come between us. So that's just a big deal.
I have the word joy, mostly because of my family, but as we're going around the circle, I'm also kind of thinking about how it relates to school too. One of the biggest things with my family is they always wanted me to find something that made me feel joy and maybe spread joy too. And I feel like working with students has made me feel like I'm accomplishing that, and just really finding the joy in your life and trying to get your students to find the joy in their life, even though it might not be in your class, but school has that to offer them. So my word was joy.
My word was laugh.
Laughter. I feel like all of us have probably been in a situation at some point where the world is bearing down on us. There's so much we need to get caught up on. Sometimes all that can make the difference is a little bit of laughter to brighten your mood or brighten somebody else's mood.
My word was honesty, and I just really feel it's really important to be open and honest about what you're feeling, what you're thinking, and what your intentions are.
I also did trust. The reason why I did trust is not to sound like Zach, but because trust is earned. It's a value that's earned, and I think anything that you earn is more important than stuff that's given. So I really like it as a value, and like what Trent said, it's the building blocks of a relationship. So
my word was passion, and I chose it thinking of my wife and I's relationship, just because it's fun to wake up every day and we're both really passionate about certain things, and just not knowing what you're going to get every day I think is kind of fun. And then kind of relating it to school, I think that's one reason why we all like this job so much too, because it's kind of different every day. You can be passionate about certain things, as well as build relationships with kids that are passionate about certain things too.
All right, stay with me on this one. Rivers. Surprise, surprise.
Yeah.
This is my kind of go-to. This is my calming space. The work that I do during the day, and then the technology and all the stuff that we have to deal with on a daily basis. When I get on a river or any body of water for that matter, it's such a great way to just escape, let it all go away, and get back into nature. And some of the best times I've had is on rivers with friends and family. And so it's just not me, but it brings back great memories of being out there with good friends and good family members.
I too did kindness, listening to everybody as we go around. I kept saying, yeah, I should have done that. But I think kindness kind of encompasses them all in the sense where I'll bring it back to my family. Take it from me, the little a-holes, they get to be big a-holes later on. But I still enjoy their company, and the more kind I am to them, the better those interactions are. And I'm not always kind, and I wish I could be kind more, but sometimes life happens, doesn't it? And then I think to the fact that, well, they're in high school now, and they're not going to be big a-holes in my life much longer. They're going to be moving out and being big a-holes in other people's lives. And I look at that and I wonder, I had no idea my life would be this way right now. So how, looking back to where I was thinking about where my life would be 5 years from now. And I didn't think I'd be here. So, sitting in this chair, I thought I'd still be here. But anyhow, I don't know what 5 years down the road, what life has in store for me. And so I want to enjoy the now at every chance I can. And kindness allows me to do that.
I wrote down written. Thinking about strong or healthy relationships, I thought of my best friend Peter, who now lives in San Francisco. And I remember after senior year in August, when Peter first went to California for college, the morning after he left, I was sitting in my bedroom in my parents' house, and I remember word for word saying, "Please, dear God, let me see him again." And I burst into tears. And that was one of the first times that I really felt like visceral weeping. I saw him again at a movie theater in the bathroom over Thanksgiving break. And ever since then, he's been my go-to guy. And whenever there's whatever is going on, usually girl troubles, I write songs. And I would write these song lyrics as they popped into my head in text messages, and I would send them to Peter, and I would add on the message saying, "Remember this for me." And he would say, absolutely. And it was just writing stuff to him and him saying, yes, I got you. Right.
So just imagine the feeling that you have right now about how well you know these people, and now you know them better, and I didn't know hardly any of you, and how much I know about you now. You could give that to your kids and just do a 20-minute thing like this and then say, okay, great, let's have the rest of class. Or you could move on to step 2. Okay, so step 2 is, if you would take those and push them up a little bit. So imagine you're in high school. You did that day 1. You can do this all in one day, or you can do it over time. And you have these paper plates and you saved them, and now you put them out and you tell everybody, okay guys, remember, you guys said these were valuable to you and these were really important to you. So these are what we are going to use for our circle today, because they're important to you and they're important to us. But in circle, these values look a little bit different. Okay, sense of humor means you can laugh. Circles are heavy spaces. You can cry. I got a little choked up there. Being honest in circle means that when you have the talking piece, you share and you be honest and you tell the truth. The other ones I see is encouraging. Just making eye contact with someone and listening with an open heart is encouraging, because you will give them the feeling that they're special and that somebody cares about them. And kids will get that. I promise you, they will get that. Being in circle is an automatic kindness, because if you are quiet and you are using an open heart, you are automatically being kind, because anytime you're listening without interruption, that is a huge thing you're doing. Many kids have no one listening to them. And your high flyers have very few people listening to them, but by God, they're going to be heard. And they're going to be heard in an inappropriate way. With my high flyers, the more circles I do, the less they blurt, the less they are high flyers, because I give them more and more chances to talk. So that would be just step 1. I turned my ringer off. So ignore it, please. Good Lord. So the next step then is officially to what we say, open the circle. So this whole part we did was just the number 1 step up there, called the values round. And what happens is people tend to jump into the next part and skip the values round. If you skip the values round, your circle won't work. And here's why. This round is about these values. Okay? Yes, it takes a lot of time, especially in a circle this big. In your class, you're not going to have this many people. You can use yes and no questions too if you need to quicken it up. So before we start the circle, we need to get a commitment or a promise from everybody. And the promise is that in the circle today, we probably have 15 more minutes in the circle, that you will do those values. And that means that you will listen with an open heart, and you will look at somebody and think about what they're saying, and in a non-judgmental way. It means that you will be kind, and that you will share your story. When you have the talking piece, you share your story. When you don't have the talking piece, you get to listen. If you think you can do those in circle today, when you get the talking piece, you say, yes, I think I can. Yep, I can. And you pass it to the left. I can. Yes. Or yes. Yes. Yes, I can. Yes, I can.
Yes, I can.
Yes, I can.
Yes, I can. Yes, I can.
Yes, I can.
Yes, I can. Yes, I can.
Yes, I can.
Yes, I can. Yes, I can. Yes, I can.
Yes, I can.
Yes, I can.
Yeah, I can. Yes, I can.
No, I can't.
Yes, I can.
Yes, I can.
Happens all the time. That's why when I go to some trainings that are people that don't do them in schools, they do them like, I go down to Ellsworth and I do their treatment program once every 3 months. Or you go in, I did a confirmation class. They're all just like, not at school. It's a whole different thing. You always have one of those. You ignore it.
Yeah.
Completely ignore it.
He was wondering,
Mm-hmm.
sure.
Yep.
Sure.
Yep. And here's the other way that you can do it. Dean, would you come over here and bring your name tag? Would you trade places with, what's your name? Cookie, thanks. So you are my role model. Eyes on me. So sometimes you can't control that person, but you control the people around them. So I would have picked my very best role model, who I thought was Dean, and put him right there. Because maybe Dave can't get... Okay, well, you get the drift. I had this happen in a staff. It was a principal over in the Twin Cities. It was a principal of a middle school, and she would not let it go. It was side-talking constantly. So I did that. And she almost didn't get up and go. And the second day of training, she didn't come. But you know what? She was not willing to give up her power to the circle. Because once that talking piece is around, you don't have any power left. The power is with the group. The power is with the circle. The power is in the middle. The power is with that talking piece. And even if you're the teacher, you don't talk unless you have it. Now, in between rounds here, it's a little bit different. But that's really hard for us to give up. Because we're used to being all that up in front. Or we're used to being the person that's got everything set up. We liked that, or we wouldn't have been teachers. So this is a different way of thinking, and it makes you uncomfortable. It's okay. It's supposed to. Your first time you do anything, it should be uncomfortable. No one learned how to play golf feeling comfortable every moment. All right? So, and I also have had people say, yeah, but I can't do that one. Like faith. Yeah, I can do all of them, but not faith. And they pass it. Just ignore it. It's okay. So I don't know if you noticed it, but I didn't say, can you do all of these in circle today? I said, can you do most? Change your language to most, and then you won't get the, I can't do that one. And I also say exactly how long it's going to be, because the ADHD kid or the EBD kid over here has to know how long I have to do this. Because they can't think that they're going to be here for an hour, because they can't. That's why my circles are never more than 20 minutes with kids, ever. That's why I would just have done that part one with the paper plates and gone on. And then the second day, I would come in and do this part. So it might take all week for you to actually talk about and define your values. All right? So I just heard mostly yeses. I heard mostly a commitment to follow the values that you guys have decided are important for us, for our class. This may not be the values for second hour, but these are what we've decided works for us. So we're ready to start circle, and I'm going to start circle with a quote. And high school kids love quotes. Or a cute little story that you have. I'm going to start with the quote. The quote, the biggest communication problem is we don't listen to understand. Instead, we listen to reply. So, circle's officially open. The first round is when you get the talking piece, tell me your name and exactly what you do here at Somerset High School. Wade, would you start, please? Grab a talking piece. Eyes on Wade, because that's how you show you are listening with an open heart.
Wade, high school math, algebra 2, and Jack.
High school math and physics.
Jake, high school math, algebra 2, pre-calc, algebra 1.
Ryan Herring, tech ed, Woods department, and middle school 6th and 7th grade, tech ed.
Sarah, school counselor in AODA. Katie, school counselor in mindfulness coordinator.
Eric, robotics coach, welding instructor, fab lab, and engineering instructor.
Shannon, principal.
Kate, Spanish. Natalie, chemistry, and I worked with Cisco one. Jesse, school psych at the middle school and high school.
Kate, visitor from the middle school. School counselor at the middle school.
Jenna, school counselor, and I do National Society and town.
Stephanie, 10th grade English.
Will, 9th grade English, 11th grade English, business and technical writing.
Josh, chemistry and physical science.
Kristen, special education.
Brent, math intervention, reading intervention, helping kids with history, algebra 1 concepts, algebra 2 concepts, and health.
Keaton, biology, physical science, basketball, and fishing team.
Dave, EBD, horticulture.
Dean, geometry, AP stats.
Jeff, English 9, 11, and 12.
Catherine, I teach 4th grade this right now, but I'm also the vice president of your school board.
Cisco, psychology, alternative education, online learning.
Becky Olson, art and drama instructor.
Heidi Haugen, and I thought I was supposed to describe what I do, I come in the morning, I open up my door, I turn my computer on, and so forth, but I'll just go with science, AP Bio, and anatomy and quiz, and horticulture.
Laura, sign language.
Kelly, family consumer science,
Corey, I engage, empower, educate.
Penny, I survive.
Jen, business teacher and school supervisor.
Trent, assistant principal, activities director. Zach, education and baseball coach.
Talia, health teacher and adaptive bio teacher.
Brandon, library reading specialist, track and football.
Okay, this is just a 1, a 2, a 3, a 4, or a 5. You're going to give yourself a score. 1 is the lowest. 5 is the highest. So, on the subject of restorative practices in school, or restorative justice in education, those are interchangeable terminologies. Where do you put yourself on your knowledge base? A 1, just what you've taught me. I have never heard anything about it other than what I heard here. That would be a 1. 2, 3, all the way up to a 5, that you're pretty knowledgeable, you do it quite often, and you consider yourself an expert. Would anyone like to start? Thank you, Dean. Go ahead and grab a talking stick.
One.
Three.
3.5.
Yeah, now you confused me. You're saying 3.5. I thought I was a 4.
I'd say a 3. Well, I remember what you, when you first came earlier this year, so I feel like I'm 1.5.
3. 2.
3-ish.
3.
3.5.
1.
3. 3. 2.
2. 2.
3.5, hopefully a 4.
3.
2.
3.
1.
1, 2, 3, 4.
2.75.
3. 3.
Yeah. I put myself at a 2 because I still have a lot of fear of circle going back and kind of how to facilitate that.
1.5. 2.
3.
Do 2 and 1/8.
2 and 5/8.
3.8.
The reason I never put myself, I usually put myself a 3, but I didn't want to make people feel bad, so I went 3.5. The more you know, you realize there's so much more out there, And all you know and all I know is that little iceberg at the top. There's a whole... I have friends in the biz that are unbelievable practitioners in the restorative justice field. They're healers and they facilitate crime, and I mean, those are the people that I even working with Chris Miner at St. Croix Valley Restorative Justice, she's now running healing centers, and I go work with her and the horses, and I'm taking my class there to a healing center. I got to go on a field trip. But there's so much more to this philosophy than just what's this little piece of circles that we're doing in schools or the little piece of restorative chats with kids. I'm really an expert at restorative chats, restorative language, and circles. And that's just about that much of it. So I just want you to think of the picture as being way bigger than what the piece that we're learning about and the piece that I can bring you. I don't at all call myself an expert. When I did my trainings down in Texas 2 weeks ago, I started with a disclaimer right up there. And it wasn't make objects appear smaller than they appear. It was a different one. And it said, I am not an expert. I'm just a teacher who has been doing this for a decade, and I'm trying to teach other teachers what works for me. So it's a really big philosophy. It's not just this tiny little piece. All right? Next question. What do you hope to get from this training today? And that will kind of guide my next part. Go ahead and start, please, Ryan.
I hope to get something for to start the day for our advisors.
I'm hoping to get tools and resources to help kids that just struggle with behaviors in school.
Hoping to support kids who don't have a space where they can feel unlimited.
Yeah, hoping to help my advisory.
Tools to help staff not only interact with each other, but gain more knowledge so that I can support staff as the professional.
I'd like to have more productive conversations with students to build relationships and prevent behaviors.
I'd like to learn more about the circle, how we do circles at the high school level.
Yeah, I'd like to learn, just kind of seeing circles in practice, get my ideas and resources about how to best implement them.
I'd like to learn skills to empower kids to understand how powerful restoring a situation that they harm somebody can be, and that it will work and they can do it actually. So
I think I'm at a place where I can facilitate a circle with students who are very compliant and kind. So looking for strategies to facilitate a group or a circle that way.
I guess primarily for conversations in my advisory, but also just those moments when I have opportunities to speak with kids in other situations, just to kind of help them reflect.
I want to learn how to get students to open up a little bit more and maybe connect with students who don't have anyone else to connect with.
I want to create relationships.
Just some ideas and resources to use in the classroom and advisory.
I guess I was looking for more things to use. I don't know. I guess I always worry about a large group setting like this at the high school level because of kids' fears and anxieties with the social aspect of it. So I guess I was looking for more ways to help combat that. I feel like a lot of the kids that I deal with on a daily basis won't find this as helpful, and so I was hoping to find ways to kind of get some buy-in for those kids.
Yeah, kind of going off that, I want students to kind of build bridges instead of walls around themselves.
Yeah, I like what Brent said, and also I like the idea of trying to find some ways to be more proactive rather than reactive.
Yeah, I'd like to keep learning more about circles and, again, incorporate them in advisory.
I'd like to learn some tools that can help me reach students who I feel like I haven't reached yet.
Advisory time is a perfect time for circles.
I came here from the Restorative Justice School, so I'm out of practice, and I would like to dust the cobwebs off of that and get back to it.
I'd like to use this in my advisory too, to make it okay for people to talk and share their thoughts. And I think it would help foster a community of respect for each other if they know more about each other. Also, open up some communication with my husband. Just kidding.
I'm just looking for some strategies to perhaps connect with some kids who are typically withdrawn and reluctant to have conversations.
Right, hopefully I can articulate this okay. I think not just to help the kids open up, but we need to help the teachers.
I'd say my first thing that came to mind was advisory. And I've done some circle stuff with my advisory, so there's, the conversation piece is there, but just how to get some of those kids to go a little bit deeper.
I hope to just get ideas that can help me a better teacher and to communicate with my new husband.
I'm hoping to get some practice and some insight.
I think before and even now that we've seen the Gallup survey, I want every kid to feel hopeful and engaged. And I get pretty disheartened when I see a kid doesn't hope. I think that's very important. So it's like this is a place of restorative concept, the philosophy is a place to allow.
For me, it's to learn more about the process, and then for us as a staff, just to have more tools in our school help to go back, whether we're teachers or coaches or advisors with the kids that we work with, not only during the school day, but outside of the school day as well.
I was trained in circles 5 years ago, and some of the stuff Sarah and I are doing in our lunch and learns, it's nice to kind of relive some of the stuff and get back in the circle game a little bit. And just doing what we've done here has just sparked more ideas on how we can work with some of the tough kids that got stuff.
I'd like to use this more to help navigate classroom management and to be a better teacher for teaching the students.
Dust off the cobwebs and circles. It was about 7 years ago in middle school. And learn a little more restorative language. Really use that more.
Ideas for advisory, and I think my ninth graders would open up a little more.
Hoping that we do a lot of time building relationships, hoping some of the things that we're doing here can help either strengthen them or even repair them sometimes. It's easy to do things that can damage that relationship.
Advisory, definitely. Seeing how this can help advisory, because I still can't get my freshmen to talk in advisory, so yeah.
Well, obviously, advisory is a main topic here. I can tell you that it works really well. The problem when people say they can't get kids to share, or they're afraid of kids shouting out or blurting, that means you haven't spent enough time on the values. We think we can just go to round one. What's your name and what grade are you in? I bet we just sit down and we ask freshmen to share, or we just ask people to share. The work is in that values round with the plates. Or you could use anything. If you're a chemistry teacher, use something else. You could use a book cover. I don't care. Tie it into whatever you're doing. But the work is in that value. So if you're going to do this in advisory time, I highly recommend doing it in advisory time. But I don't know if I do it every day. Kids get sick of things. And you want them wanting more. So my experience has shown that kids love advisories on Mondays and Fridays, and they love doing circles on Mondays and Fridays. And if you are having trouble, the kids are passing, or they're not answering, you have not spent enough time on values, and your questions aren't good. It's you. If you get a bunch of kids passing, it's you. The questions aren't any good. So you got to have questions that they want to answer and they want to talk about. They don't want to talk about their favorite flavor of ice cream. Okay, that's a kindergarten question. They want something that's real and they want it, and that they can talk about and has their opinions. And you can even, I tell you what, a lot of high school teachers have a box, and it's a topic box, and the kids put in questions and topics all week. So by Friday, you've got a whole bunch that you could have talked about. And you want them wanting more. That has been, in my experience, for using them for advisory. And you just got to go with it, but don't skip the values around. And then one kid can be in charge of getting the paper plates out for advisory on Mondays and Wednesdays. They will start loving Mondays and Fridays. But let them design some of the questions, let them decide some of the topics, but they just go in the box. You are the ones making the decisions, because some of the questions might be inappropriate. Or they're hurtful. So you have to word them correctly. I mean, it's as simple as, what are you wearing for Halloween? You'd think, okay, in Somerset, that could have been an okay question. Are you going trick-or-treating? Or what are you doing tonight? Where I teach, I have 97% diverse. I have 4 little Muslim girls and 2 little Muslim boys in my class. I didn't ask, what's your costume for Halloween tonight? And all of my other kids are just like dying to tell everybody what their costumes is. So you have to reword the question to fit your kids in your class. So I said, what are you really hoping to do tonight? So if you're hoping to put your costume on and go trick-or-treating, you got to share that. But Radia, she got the talking piece and she said, my family doesn't celebrate Halloween, but my uncle always comes over and he brings a movie and pizza and popcorn. And I love Halloween, she said. So I still gave Radia a chance to share. So I would for sure tell them, but you're not going to use their exact questions probably. But they're going to give you ideas, and if you're going to get really good at coming up with those questions. And you might, in my school, we have a instructional specialist. If anybody follows my Facebook page here, every Monday I post questions, and some of them might be high school, some of them might be not. But all questions and articles, and if you want to know more, just go on my Facebook page, and all of that is on there. And restorative chats are on there. So those of you who say you want a strategy for dealing with kids who are maybe you want to resolve some harm or that kind of thing, I have a handout for you called a restorative chat. And it has 5 parts. Every single time you're talking with a kid who has a problem, start with this question. What happened? If you remember nothing else about resolving conflict with your kids, or they come into interventions and you can just tell, you can't teach right away. You know there's something going on. And if it's affecting all of them, then you do a restorative chat before you start teaching, because they're not going to learn anyway. If you have to use 5 minutes of your intervention time, any principal or school board member is going to give you permission to use that 5 minutes, because they're not going to learn until you calm them down. So what happened? And even if you start teaching and you notice, because you're meeting them at the door, somebody's coming in and you know it's bad, you just get you get them going quick, and then you go over and tell me what happened while they're doing their 2 problems, so you got time to talk with him. You'll get good at that, but that's the first question, what happened? And then he'll say, well, so-and-so and so-and-so and so-and-so, and you're like, okay, is this involving the whole class, or is this just involving you and these 2 people? So you have to decide, is it a circle that you have to have with your class about this, or is it just you and I and you? But you're still going to ask the same questions. So that's what I sent Dr. Bizik to my house to get, because I have them in a small size. I bought that. Thing's going to follow me right over here. Oh, there they are. Ryan, would you pass these out? I have a lot of schools that put these in their lanyards because the back is called the 5 magic questions. These will be your savior. High school teachers, I had one in Texas that sent me a message, and he said, this has transformed my teaching just by using these 5 questions. He said, I can't do circles, I don't have time. That's okay. But those are your 5 questions. And I don't care if you're asking 1 kid or 3 kids, you ask them. And then this, take one and pass it on, gives you a little bit more leeway. So you know you're building relationships all the time. It sounded to me in this circle like you guys kind of know how to build relationships, and you know to greet kids at the door, and you know to be in the hallway. So I'm not going to spend time on that. But what I heard from you here was that you want help in how to talk to kids and how to solve some problems and how to teach them how to solve the problems. The kids in my class will come out and say, Mrs. Cranston, I got to tell you what happened. They know that's the first question I'm going to ask. And they never get mad at you because you don't start by saying, okay, what'd you do out there? It's always, tell me what happened. So I call 3 kids in, one by one, tell me what happened. So go ahead and read that for a minute, and then I'm going to read you a scenario. And granted, it's from a 4th grade class, but it's the same type of thing. Pass this around, and this is just a cheat sheet. So if you have a one-on-one with a kid, and it really follows the chat, it follows the questions, but you have something when you're done that you can put in your file, and now you have a record of the conversation you had with that kid. And if you are a behavior specialist or an intervention teacher, you can make a copy and put it in the teachers that they work with, so that everybody knows exactly what conversations were had with that kid or those kids. It works. It's a social conference. Now I can do these on the fly because I've been doing them for 10 years and I don't need to have the questions in my lanyard. But I had a counselor call me from Fridley, and he's like, are these copyrighted or something? Can I make copies of those 5 questions? I said, I just put them on the back of the card. I said, I don't own these. If you Google 5 restorative questions, what are the 5? They all come up. I didn't invent them. I just use them. And I put them on the back of my lanyard because I carry it around in my lanyard at school, and so do all the teachers in my building. And so do all the teachers at Fridley High School. I mean, there's just tons of places now just carry those around. So if you can do it without the questions, great. But here's a typical thing. I pick up students from lunch. 2 girls are angry. They both come up to me saying, she kept bothering me at the lunch table. She kept putting her hand in my face. Before I was practicing restorative strategies, I probably would have talked to both of them about tattling. And you're both this is a conflict between 2 kids. Okay, there's no harm here. Just 2 kids arguing. Okay, but today I didn't. And then this is I just printed this off my Facebook page because I post these every day. I probably do 3 to 5 of these per day in my classroom. So I did today. I just pulled them out in the hallway, and I said, okay. Well, actually, it was indoor recess. I don't know if anybody's ever taught elementary, but indoor recess is like hell. So you don't get to eat lunch. You just sit there and eat your lunch at your desk while your kids play games and yell and scream. So I said, all right, come on in. I said, called them over to my desk, and then I just said to the 2 of them, all right, tell me what happened at lunch. Both of them just stood there staring at me. I waited them out. Finally, one of them said, okay, fine, I'll go first. She proceeded to tell me how the other student had been bothering her at the lunch table. The other girl started yelling back at her with the same accusations. Pretty soon, they're both yelling at each other. The lunchroom supervisor, she was standing over in the door. And I could tell that she thought I should intervene because pretty soon they're both yelling and screaming at each other. Right here in front of me. Everybody's playing games and nobody's paying any attention to them whatsoever. And these 2 little girls are just screaming at each other. And I just let them go. Don't interrupt them. Once you ask what happened, under any circumstances, don't interrupt them because they'll start all over. They will, I guarantee. Let them go. Let them go. I just let them yell at each other. You let them go. They finally stopped, and I just said, wow, that was really sad. I said, wow, you guys, are you finished now? And they both just kind of, yeah. But you got to let kids get that what happened out. It doesn't matter if they're 12, 5, or an adult. What happened? They both stopped and looked at me, and then I said the next question. I said, how are you guys feeling right now? See, I'm just following the script. They were both basically yelled out and just kind of sat there exhausted. They both slumped their shoulders and one began to cry. And one put her hands up over her face. The other one just kind of melted into my arms, and I pulled them both close and said, "Tell me if you agree. I think what happened is you guys had a conflict at lunch. Now both of you were kind of embarrassed about it." They nodded and said, and then I said, I asked the next one, "Do you need some help of fixing this?" They nodded again, so I took each of them and put my arm around their shoulders and said, "Nobody's perfect. You both agree that you overreacted to a little bit of problem. Do you agree that you want to start over?" Then the next question, "Do you need anything more to move on?" They both felt victimized. And they leaned over and said, "Nope, I think we can get back to work." And they did. Now, all kids are not going to react like that. I have another scenario that we're not going to have time, but the little girl stomped her, "No, no, no." Well, then you don't worry about that person for a while. You say, "Let me know when you're ready. I'll help you. But right now, I'm going to deal with the two bystanders here who are harmed." And then you ask these same questions of the bystanders. And so when you are doing some of this resolving and teaching kids how to do it, don't forget about the bystanders. Remember, there's 3 parts to restorative practices. You got to talk to the victims, the community members, and you've got to talk to the offenders. But if the offenders are not ready to repair any harm, just say, "Okay, that's all right. We'll talk to you later." And then talk to the bystanders and make sure that they feel heard. Restorative practices is not just about the offender. The people that witnessed it or the people that were harmed are just as important. So this little script really, really works. So one-on-one it works. It also works. You ask the same questions if there's 4 kids there. Now, if it gets to be 5 or 6 or 7 or 8 out of your class, that's too much. You can't handle it. I can't handle it. And then I'm just like, okay, oh, good God. Then that's when I do a circle and I have my whole class talk about it. But that isn't very often because most of the time you can handle it right away. And you know you're good at multitasking. You can get some kids going on a project and go over and say, "Hey, you 3, come on over. I can see there's a conflict." I mean, even if it's just somebody calling somebody else a name in the lunchroom, use these questions. It works. Questions about those questions. Okay, so I want you to remember 3 things. That restorative practices are about building relationships, and I didn't talk much about that because I got the feeling that you already know how to do that. Then it's about maintaining the relationships, constantly doing things like circles and greeting them at the door and maintaining them. And then when harm happens, using this format to help resolve and teach the kids how to solve their problems.
I guess I have a question on what would you do if you were using like offender and the person hurt. What would you do if the offender is likely to flee, is likely to, if they're not ready to reconcile it, and if I were to say to the person, "Well, if you're not ready, then just chill out," well, then they're probably fleeing or leaving and not going where they're supposed to, not possibly, leaving the building or having nothing to do unless they're getting, so I'm worried about, like if I know the student has a history of fleeing and a history of leaving, how would you, I guess, for advice, how would you deal with
Well, when I approached them, it would be somewhere that was safe, that maybe was not the easiest. I wouldn't do it in the hall.
Yeah.
I'd do it in a safe space where I would quietly just say, "Could you tell me what happened?" You'd be surprised. They won't flee if you use what happened, because you're not accusing them of anything. You're just asking for their story. And if you get the sense that he's still pissed then don't involve the other 2. And then just say, "Okay, thanks for telling me what happened." Then go talk to the others and find out what happened. And then think about it for a while before you go to that person. And if you think that person is not ready to repair any harm, let them be. You got to worry about the people who were harmed. You talk to them. What do you guys need just in case to get through this? I know that was really hurtful. What do you need? Just go right down the thing. What do you need? You might be able to help them get through it. You don't always have to involve that offender if they're not willing to. I have one that I all year long I just gave up on him. I mean, throws chairs, he yells, he screams, and all of a sudden I just keep doing it. I keep doing it. What can I do? I involved him. Oh my God! The last 3 weeks he stopped throwing chairs, and he hasn't been suspended. Does he perfect? No, but I just kept saying, every time he'd get in trouble, I'd go, tell me what happened. So he stopped running away. But it took 3 months till he stopped running away. Because when I do this, they're not afraid to come because they know the first question. I never say, I saw you doing it. It's always, tell me what happened. Like you're really concerned. What was your question?
Well, I was just going to make a comment. Sometimes I found that the offender, it may take one or 2 days before, because you got to let them kind of de-escalate, and that may be at the end of the day or whatever the circumstances.
Yes.
But it may be 1-2 days later, and that's a good time then to really
Absolutely.
come back and say, okay, tell me about this.
Go through the questions
Now
with them.
they're able to discuss it. And they're willing to
Absolutely.
discuss it.
Yep.
So you gotta be
But that
patient.
goes back to knowing your kids. You can't repair a relationship with someone if you don't have a relationship to begin with. Right. So you know that about that kid. You know that about that kid. Yeah. So you know to give him a day and a half.
Right.
You know to approach him quietly in the classroom and not call him out in the hall because he's going to run. That's why none of these techniques work unless you have a relationship with those kids.
I have a question. So I feel like we've been talking about this mostly in the context of kids who are having problems with each other. Does this thing work the same way when it's been like a classroom teacher who feels like they've been harmed by a student and vice versa?
Exactly. Thank you.
Well, yeah, but like, so I don't see that really happening here. Like within the context of Somerset High School, like circa 20 whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Like what like.
Then that's the piece you're missing, aren't you?
Yeah. At least that's just my impression.
Mm-hmm.
You don't see restorative practices being used to.
I don't see that, like, if a teacher feels like a student has harmed them in some way, that is just dealt with between the student and somebody else, and the teacher has been brought in on the back end. The teachers have said, hey, this is what happened, and then their involvement is removed. And then vice versa. I don't really feel like there's an avenue at all for students who feel like they've been harmed by an adult. Like it's a place for them to express that, and then for that harm to be reconciled. I think like it's just dealt with in like a one-on-one session, or the student is just encouraged to like use a coping mechanism to move past it.
And that is typically what happens, and that is not restorative. Restorative has to include the person who's harmed. It could be a kid, it could be a teacher. It has to. Before the child is put back in the classroom, somebody needs to come and ask the teacher, how can we make this right? What do you need? Absolutely. That piece is apparently missing. And it's missing in elementary schools with behavior specialists. Because we call the behavior specialist, the kid is removed, and then 15 minutes later the kid's brought back, and we have no idea what happened.
We have pieces started, the foundation of that, but we need to do a better job of bringing in, because we're having the restorative conversations.
Yep.
We have that, but we need to do a better job of bringing in, or going to the teacher first saying, hey, what do you need?
Yep.
We're going to work with this kid and then bringing it together. Because I know there's always preemptive conversations before a circle anyway.
Yep.
So we do have that, Corey, and I'll be the first one to admit that we need to bring the teachers in. And in the conversations that we have, teachers have done harm with some of our kids. And so those conversations are happening, but now this is a great day, a great way to now bring it full circle.
And use the script.
Right.
And if teachers have a script, they just feel a little more comfortable. And you can even give the teacher the script ahead of time and say, okay, you go through the script with the teacher, you go through the script with the kid. Now you bring them together. They both have their scripts. Nobody's as nervous.
I would say even taking it another step further, for kids that are coming back from a harm, like a suspension. Oftentimes you hear teachers, well, they're just back. I don't know how long they've been gone, where they were. I've seen a lot of success by, and again, it's hard to get parents in, but doing that kind of circle or during that practice with the parent and the student before the student is allowed to come back into the classroom, because then it's just confusion and it's concern and I think I'll say my brain goes through, was there a punishment? Was there, and that's not the purpose, but I think having to sit through what happened and how are you going to fix it so it doesn't happen again is a piece maybe we could add to.
Well, hey then, you know what? Then this whole hour and a half was totally worth it, because we found a piece that was missing. But use the script. The script is really, really helpful. Not only for teachers, but for specialists who... And then, say you do have this conversation, like I said, make copies and put it in everybody's box that works with that kid. Then everybody knows what the expectations are and what the promise that kid did make. And they know what kind of conversation you had. So now I know a little bit more about that kid when he comes to my class. Any other questions?
I think you undersold your Facebook page a little bit because there's good stuff in there, and I follow it. And anybody who's social media out there, I would follow it if you want to kind of better yourself with advisories or whatever. There's great tips on there every day, and I've used some of it in some of the stuff Sarah and I do, and it's valuable.
It's just real. It's just the stuff that happens in my own life every single day at school. It's just real. And a lot of articles.
So Catherine, would you consider, or what would you consider, we don't suspend much, we try to move away from that. Anytime we do suspend a student, we have a re-entry meeting before they are returned back to the classroom. Would you consider that a piece of it,
It depends if the reentry meeting includes those that were harmed.
Mm-hmm.
The reentry meeting between you, the student, and the parent is not restorative. It's a reentry meeting.
Right. Sometimes we've offered that up, and it's even on our form. I just actually made this here. However, the people that were harmed, there can be weeks before they're ready, or I don't want to do that. I do not want to face that person.
Well, then you don't always have to bring in the real people that were harmed either. You can bring in some community members. You don't always have to bring in, if the real victims aren't ready. But if you really do your job and follow the script with those victims ahead of time, and they go in prepared, it might take a day to prepare them, but the victims or the people, the bystanders, have to be involved, or it's not restorative. But you can have a meeting with the teacher or the parent and the kids to prepare them. You should go through that script with them, saying, everybody wants your child back. The teacher is wanting your child back. The students want your child back. And we're going to make it good, but here's how we're going to do it. Prepare the parents with that script. But if they were in your classroom, you need to participate in that. And if for some reason you can't, because you can't get someone to cover for you or it just doesn't work, I've been there, then you write up a statement and you have someone read it for you. And that will work if you just can't get there. Because the parents need to know that it isn't about breaking the rules. Yeah. That there were people in that school that your child affected. And your child has to own up to that. The punishment was the suspension, which has zero effect. But it always makes the teacher feel good or the kids affected feel good. But it has no real effect. So I'm glad you guys have a little handle on this, but that is something that piece is huge. And I tell you what, teachers, that's our number one thing, is we feel we don't have power in that area. All of us. So if you could give that,
absolutely,
that would be phenomenal.
That's definitely the foundation of our conversations about moving forward, but that next step is
okay.
Absolutely.
All right, we're going to do a stand-up circle to end. Whew. All right, one word. One word, your aha from this 90 minutes. One thing that you think is really important, maybe something you want to do, something you want to remember, your aha. 1 or 2 words. I just don't want it to be a paragraph. Heidi, do you want to start?
Sure.
If you need to sing.
Nope, not for a stand-up circle. This is kind of like an academic circle. Do it at the end of chemistry. Do it at the end of the math, and put out kind of an open-ended question. Stand-up circle, the bell rings, you're gone. Go.
What popped into my head was be reflective.
It can be quick. Talking, peace, and having value.
Script.
Involving the hurt.
Listening to all sides.
Come full circle. I have 8 words. To change the behavior, you got to change the heart.
Be willing to try new things.
Script.
What happened?
Proactive.
Emily, what happened?
Essential. Patience.
Circle. I have it, I'm trying to say it. Actionable pieces from this that I want to take and put into action.
Action.
Action. Say it.
Also what happened.
Values. Next up's the reentry form on the board back. I like that. I want to give you the one. Okay.
Communication. Karen.
Values.
Time. Giving them the appropriate time. All parties involved.
Start with values.
Multiple people are affected.
What happened?
Every day's a reset.
Restore.
All right, so we're going to end by just leaning in and whispering restore. Restore. All right, you're done. Thanks. Was it valuable?
It was very valuable.
Good.
Hit the red button again.